Alrighty. Hi, Connor.
Hi,
How are
Trenton. I am still pulling up our questions.
Why? This is why we need the pin up.
I don't think a pinup is what you're what you're calling it.
Welcome to Switching Rails.
This fellow is Trenton.
This is Connor.
And we are unfortunately your hosts.
I like it. It's pretty good for me. That was a good movie.
Yeah?
I thought that was comparatively a very nice movie.
Yeah.
Compared to all other movies in the industry that I've seen.
So, here's the thing.
Okay.
I think it's a good movie. I think it absolutely does not deserve its place.
Really?
I
don't know anything below it, so I can't say. I thought it was better than Godfather Part 2.
Okay. I mean, I'm willing to hear that argument, and willing to accept it, I guess, is more accurate.
You just heard it.
I'm willing to accept that argument, but I don't think I can agree with it.
Okay, that's totally fine. I'd love to actually discuss some of that for sure.
And part of this is probably because I know the director's wider filmography.
Totally.
And honestly, it doesn't compare to Network. And Network is same director. I think it's a far better film.
Huh.
Far better. And we have to remember this is still we're still really high on the list right now. I think this is number 5.
Yeah, I think this is 5.
Yeah. So understanding is this the 5th best movie of all time? I don't think so. Now, it's a masterclass in framing and what's the why am I forgetting the term? Basically, where people are in the scene. Mise en scene.
What?
Mise en scene. It's
mise en scene?
Yes.
Women in scene?
No.
Unmarried women in scene.
No.
Mise en scene.
So as with a good portion of film terms, it's French, and I think it roughly translates to where people are standing in a scene. I don't know. if I'm completely honest, I don't know. But
let us know if you're French,
or if you just know France. Yeah. I really should know more of this stuff.
Yeah.
Considering
I studied this.
Yeah, I studied this, and not only that, one of my self-proclaimed favorite eras of cinema is the French New Wave.
Oh.
So
the French New Wave?
Yeah. It's
I have to get into
we will have some of those on the list.
We'll have to do an offshoot of this show that just goes over film theory. I think that sounds kind of fun.
Maybe.
Ask you random questions.
Maybe we'd do shorter episodes.
Maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally good.
But
because first question is actually scores out of 10 for
scores out of 10
and technical.
All right.
You do first this time.
I will say technical. This is probably it may be a 10 out of 10.
Nice.
From a technical perspective. How much I enjoy it, we're probably closer to a 7.
Yeah, that's what I was guessing.
Again, I don't dislike the movie.
Of course.
I enjoy it, and I think it has some really interesting things to say.
Mm-hmm.
But I have some issues with it that I'll get into with you after. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I think that technically, I thought some of the framing was weird, so I'm going to give it a 9.5, just myself from a technical standpoint, because I have no basis for technical enjoyment. Though, also probably a 9.5. That was a very, very good movie. It sucks you in.
Yeah.
The tension that it builds and the trying to learn more about people as the case goes on is very, very cool.
Mm-hmm. So, I have issues with the actual core of the film. That's really my issue.
Like the what the movie is about or is.
What it is.
Okay, cool.
We are supposed to believe by the end of this film Oh, spoilers, by the way.
Oh, yeah. More spoilers for 12 Angry Men.
Yeah.
Because we didn't actually mention the movie.
Yeah. We're talking about 12 Angry Men.
Yeah. We're only 2.
Yes. I'm not angry right now. Just most of the time. Anyway.
Me too.
But no, we are supposed to believe by the end of the film that this kid gets in an argument with his father.
Yeah.
Says, I'm going to kill you, states intention, leaves, goes and buys a knife immediately after he tells his father this. The knife falls out of his pocket. Someone else comes and stabs his dad that evening with the same type of knife. He gets back from the movies, can't remember anything about them. Like he can't remember, like even when this was addressed with with juror number 4, where he's like, you and your wife went to see a movie. What was the second movie and who was in it? And it's like, okay, this was last Monday. You're asking about the movie that he didn't even go to see on purpose. Like this was just the other feature. And you're asking him about other actors in the movie. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's just a lot of it doesn't hold up for me. And where I go to the point where, is there doubt? Sure. Is there reasonable doubt? I don't think it's reasonable.
Really?
I really don't think it's reasonable.
You don't agree with the conclusion that everyone came to in that one? That's interesting because I feel like it did win me over.
Yes.
So I wonder if this is going to get a longer episode. We'll see how this goes. Yeah. But anyway, let me see. The thing that was brought up, there was the argument, hey, I'm going to kill you. Mm-hmm. Goes out, buys knife. We actually don't know that sequence of events.
Right.
With the old man, he, as a character witness, kind of degrades through the entire movie. Yeah. And most of what he says comes into question.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I'm willing to buy that.
Cool.
So, the witness testimony, I go, the only thing that I think holds up for me is the woman across the street, actually. Despite her having to have glasses, the fact that early in the movie, they say she's lived across the way from these people for a very long time, and she's known this kid since he was a boy. We don't know how good or bad her eyesight was. We don't even bring into question whether she actually was wearing normal glasses or
if
not.
She was farsighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So the fact that she maybe wore glasses and would misidentify him, okay, but she knows approximately the build, and she knows that someone murdered that guy with a knife that was close enough to be able to be mistaken for him.
So, have you ever had to wear glasses?
No, but I have worn my wife's glasses, which I feel like would...
But it does the opposite effect. Because it has to, because your eyes are good. Even with my middling eyesight, I'm right now I can still figure out your details very well.
Yeah.
60 feet away, which is more than the length of my house, I could tell height, and I could tell probably hair color, and probably build. Yeah. But with, for example, your wife's eyesight, they would be blurs. They would not know form. The colors would blend.
Okay. And that's fair. But again, we still don't know
exactly what her prescription was. Absolutely agree with that.
And this is assuming she has the worst prescription.
No, I feel like it actually is middling. Even worse than me for sure.
Okay.
But even better than Trinity's
but
would be.
But
fine.
Even that, I feel like the hard evidence is the most important part. Yeah. I think the argument against the woman is probably the weakest in there. The old man, I go, okay, yeah, there's a very real possibility that he just wasn't able to get over there
wasn't fast enough.
And assumed it was the kid.
Yeah.
Sure. With her, I go, you are more just casting doubt on the witness more than you are actually taking into account any of the realistic possibilities.
I wish there was a better cross-examination we could pull from. Because
it's a really weak cross-examination.
Like, if we don't know that information, like, that should have come out.
Yeah. But you go from that, and the hard evidence is really what does it for me. Like, the entire knife thing is called into question because he was able to go to a pawn shop near the kid's house and just get a knife like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, what was this supposed other person even doing in the house? Ostensibly, there's nothing stolen. So,
which we also don't know because there was no cross-examination.
Right. But ostensibly, they weren't looking for other suspects, right? Like, they weren't saying, like, oh, you stole from your dad, and that's why, like, robberies that turn into murders are usually very different than people that are actually trying to murder. And this happened inside the apartment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So whoever was going there had access to it.
For sure.
It looks really bad for the kid, even after all of this, as far as I'm concerned. I think this is the brilliance of the movie, though. The fact that by the end of it, I think everyone, at least on their first watch, is drawn in, and by the end of it goes, okay, yeah, he's probably not probably innocent, but
but
there is a shadow of a doubt.
Yes.
Shadow of a reasonable doubt.
Yes.
But this was pointed out to me a long time ago, and I've never been able to unsee it. I don't think that it's reasonable that he goes, buys a knife, very same knife, loses that knife, and someone comes in with access to his apartment and stabs his dad on the very same night that he goes from saying, I'm going to kill you, goes to the store, buys a knife like that, and a similar knife ends up in his dad's chest. Mm-hmm. Very same night. Super unlikely.
But my problem with that is we still don't know anything else about the victim, about the stabby boy, the suspected stabby boy. We don't know, so we know he's 18, so he's being tried as an adult.
Yeah.
From what it sounds like, from the upbringing that it sounds like he had, it sounds reasonable that, that he could have been in with a different kind of crowd.
Yeah.
And this could have been a very well done,
like a framing?
Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
He does have friends that he goes to the movies with.
Yes.
Those friends are going to be in very similar circles as him.
Yeah.
If his knife gets lost, and for some reason the dad needed to go away, it's a very easy thing to go and say, look, he went and killed him.
That's fair.
He has motive.
Even then, it would be, you would have to assume that it's the same knife, and one of his friends ducked out partway through the movie to go kill his dad.
No, just give it to another person in the whatever organization he's in. We've been watching too much mafia movies recently.
That's fair.
So that's where my brain's
because I didn't get the feeling that this was organized crime, that the kid was.
He was Irish and Catholic in the 1950s.
We don't know that he's Catholic. That's completely beside the point, though. The Irish have never had a really good system of organized crime in the U.S.
Dang.
It's pretty good in Ireland, but
didn't export well. It's a bad exported good.
Yeah. But no, I do think that by the end of it, you are kind of pulled in as one of the jurors, and at some point along the way, you start going, well, maybe.
If I had to make the decision, it did, I think, to me, and maybe I should watch it again.
Yeah.
But it did, to me, shed enough of a doubt that I wouldn't want to send him to jail death.
Yeah, to jail death.
Jail death.
Yeah, the electric chair.
The electric jail chair. Death.
I feel like we're stagnating.
I think continue. What's the next question?
Oh, okay.
This is like standout scenes almost, which is very close.
Yeah.
What is the next question, though, actually?
Oh, actually, before we move on, do you think it deserves its place on the list?
Oh, so far, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like it, like I said at the beginning, I feel it could have gone above Godfather Part 2. and like I understand probably why it doesn't, mainly because of it's tied to Godfather Part 1. But if I were looking at just Godfather Part 2 as a movie and looking at 12 Angry Men, I enjoy 12 Angry Men better than Godfather Part 2.
Okay, that's completely fair. So we are at standout scenes.
Yes.
And actually, I want to talk about themes first.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like this movie in particular,
racism.
Every standout scene is somehow connected to the themes of the film.
Totally.
Which, I mean, it's pretty clear early on that it's about the prejudices of these jurors coming in.
Exactly. How they're all men.
Well, yeah. But the fact that they are bringing in their own baggage and their own prejudices, which push them to believe a certain way.
Totally. Which, saying that, we actually don't know very much about juror number architect.
Juror number 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know much, like, really any of his backstory or what his prejudices were that pushed him to start saying, no, actually, let's go and talk about this.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
He's like the fulcrum.
He is sort of the most blank slate of any of the jurors, which is very interesting. I almost see him as a stand-in for the director, for Sidney Lumet.
Mm-hmm.
I think he didn't want to characterize him too much because he didn't want to put it to the point where it was like, okay, I'm just putting my own life in here. But I think it was also for the audience to be able to go, again, self-insert, what you were talking about, where you can
put yourself into.
Yeah.
Other things.
But yeah, so I think probably prejudice is one, and the potential failures of the justice system, I think, is the other main one.
Yeah, absolutely. Pointing out multiple times that, hey, this was not as good of a trial as it could have been.
Right. Yeah. And that's one thing that comes up over and over again is the defense lawyer is not a very good lawyer.
Yes.
And they even talk about how good the prosecuting lawyer is.
Yes.
And he just, hammers out those points one by one. And the defense lawyer, actually, of the entire argument about why the defense lawyer didn't bring up all of the things that he should have, I think that was the strongest in the film, is like, yeah, this is a bleak case, and
he's not going to get anything for this.
Yeah.
Like, it's highly unlikely he'll win.
Yeah.
He's standing in. He's, again, court appointed. It's not like this kid came out and was like, hey, defend my interests.
Yeah.
He's doing this because the state says he has to.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, I think those are probably the two big ones, and I think they connect. You've got the prejudices of the men in there and how that affects the way that the justice system is working, right? You've got juror number 10, I believe.
The racist one?
No, the next one over.
11.
So 11, yeah. Number 11 has that whole oratory scene where he talks about, like, I think it's really great that we are
doing this.
Yeah, that we are
have this.
Yeah, that we're notified. We come down here as people that don't know this kid. We don't know anything about him, and we are able to look at this without getting emotionally invested.
Yes.
And
look at this, and we shouldn't get emotionally invested.
Right. Yeah. I forgot where I was going.
I can pick up.
Yeah, go ahead.
So even though, like, it shows, hey, everyone here has a prejudice in some direction, like the salesman generally doesn't actually have very strong convictions, and it has difficulty thinking for himself.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Yes, he doesn't care, and then the other guy, 7, really is very self-serving.
Yeah.
But even those prejudices aren't as bad as, like, blatant racism.
Right.
Which is
something that was
very
10.
much called out in this. Like, everyone else, you can be awful.
Yeah.
And
one thing that I did really respect about this is juror number 3, the guy who is just the most angry, most vehement.
3, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah. Like, most vehemently, like, this kid is guilty and we are sending him to the electric chair because we need to.
Yes.
He is one of the first people to walk away from the table.
Yes.
When
so fast.
Yeah. Which I did really appreciate.
I really appreciate that.
Where it was like, this guy is
very angry.
He's very angry, and he's clearly our main antagonist.
Yep.
But even he is not willing to sit and listen to this guy just talk about how we assume it's Irish.
Yeah. All immigrants.
Yeah. Are
trash.
All the same way, and they're all heavy drinkers, and they're all liars. You can't trust any of them. And it's like even the guy who is probably the most on your side as far as this particular case goes is still not willing
super far away from
yeah.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, still not willing to listen to it.
Exactly.
Because I see that scene almost as the mark of civility.
Yes.
Against racism there.
I agree.
And how all of these other people are, even when they're mean and cruel to one another,
yep,
they are still at their cores kind of civilized human beings.
Exactly.
And this is the one guy that just
even though he wasn't necessarily as vehement, that his was the worst.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so I think as far as standout scenes go, like that's really very high up there.
They did a fantastic job of that one.
And I think that's kind of what I was talking about, where like those really standout scenes, I feel like do tie back into the themes of the film, because what we've already talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, do you have anything else for standout scenes? Or
I really liked the stab evidence, actually, like the slightly anecdotal. This is how you use Switchblade evidence.
I love that, because every time I watch it, you can feel the tension where he's holding the knife at the guy's chest, and you're like, is he gonna like everybody? You can see everybody in the background, like just freaking out because they've seen how hot-headed this guy is.
Hot-headed this guy is, absolutely. Nope, totally, completely agree. Yeah, that was fantastic.
It's a wonderful scene.
It's a great scene. But yeah, and coming out of I found that to be a very strong piece of evidence, because if this kid did know his way around knives generally, he would understand this.
So that has been a strong piece in the past for me. This time I watched it, and it weakened.
Why?
Because whoever stabbed him with the switchblade was going to be stabbing him with the switchblade the wrong way.
No matter what.
Right. Regardless of the background or whatever.
Interesting.
Anyone who did it went in...
What if they pushed him to the ground, thunk, stabbed him normally, but you just twitched yourself around, you're above his head.
Okay.
Now you have the right angle.
You'd have to be behind him in order to be in that position, though.
Exactly. It's a really, really awkward thing. Because you push him over, you run over him, you go down, you go stab. So it's really bad. But there you go. My evidence.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hire me. Best lawyer. I don't give legal advice.
I feel like that's a story.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's get this next one here.
All right. Who would you recommend this to?
I'd recommend this to anyone.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, there's some, very, tense scenes. Mm-hmm. So, again, not a PG movie.
I mean, it is. It's a PG movie.
I'd say it's PG-13 for the intensity.
I think it was approved.
Yeah, it's a different one.
But even so, I would still say this is a PG movie.
Really?
It's got some heavy thematic elements, but I don't think that there's anything in there that, actual content that's that's of PG-13
I feel like
merit.
If Star Wars Revenge of the Sith goes up to PG-13 for intensity, based on all the other ones being PG.
There are a lot of
really
severed
that's
body
true,
parts.
though, actually. You're right. That's a good
and
point.
And the man being burned alive.
And children dying.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yep.
Okay, I renege my point there.
I would say if Nightmare Before Christmas is rated PG, then this can be rated PG as well.
Ooh, rough. That's a good point you have there. Okay, fine. We'll keep it a PG then.
But
PG-9.
I would say this is something I would recommend to people that enjoy a good bottle episode.
Yeah.
I think that's really what this is.
Like, it was a very good episode of a movie.
Yeah. It's an incredible bottle episode.
In The Jury.
But yeah, there isn't anyone I would caution away from it necessarily, but
think so either.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this is part of the reason that I don't view it as being something that I would put that high on the list is I don't necessarily know who I would say, hey, you should really see this film.
So I feel like I'd say that to most people. Like, hey, you want a movie to watch? Go watch 12 Angry Men. It's good.
Yeah, and that's completely your prerogative.
That's what I'm feeling. Like, I will now remember that this is a good movie and that I enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. All right. So let's see. What else do we have here?
We do need to make a like a ranking board so that we can...
I would definitely be willing to do that. Other than the fact that in situations like this, I think we disagree enough on the movie.
But I feel like we could have two. We could have three total.
Okay.
We could have an absolute and a Trent and a Connor ranking boards.
We could average them out.
We could average them out also.
Yeah.
Like an actual, because we give these scores.
Yeah, we do.
So I feel like that could happen.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how that goes. We had to have 250 of them.
Yeah, and people not benefiting from the visual feed will...
We'll let the audio people know.
Okay.
Well, like, this one surpassed. Blah, 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 them all down.
I will say when we get to like the 100 range, 150 range, it starts getting real messy.
Once we get a website, it'll just be on there and we can update it and it'll be a very easy list because it's all bulleted and it's fine.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome.
That was completely off topic, but it's staying in the episode. Any technical things that stood out to you?
Technical things that stood out to me. The turtle.
The turtle man?
The turtle man. Juror number 9 is only a turtle. Anytime he's given any like important scene, you start at his face from an angle that makes his neck look infinite.
They definitely do that in his early close-ups.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know why. Every time I see that, it's really uncomfortable.
It's super unnerving. It's like, hi, I'm an old man, which is fine. Like that's great.
Yeah.
But
they should have done like a medium shot first, though.
Yes, I agree, and then zoom in, not zoom in, because they didn't really do zoom.
No.
In old movies.
No. It's because zoom was super hard to do.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
You layer cameras on top of each other, and you go.
But yeah, as far as technical things, blocking. Blocking. Yes.
Yes. That's what it is in theater too.
Yes. So the blocking in this, I think, is incredible.
Very well done.
I think I don't know if this would be costume or makeup, but the sweat.
Great.
Throughout the movie, you constantly get like this feeling that it's getting more and more intense.
Yes.
As it gets to the middle.
Whenever he gets one sweat bead, but it looks like a raindrop. That's what it looked like. A raindrop hit his head.
Yep. He never sweats.
No. Except for one time.
Yep. But then I do feel like a lot of that tension sort of breaks, and I don't know how intentional this is, but I feel like it was. But it didn't feel like a breaking point in the movie for me. Yeah. Which was the weird part. But when the rain comes and the storm.
I feel like that should have been something more as well.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, nope, this is a storm.
Yeah. Well, and it did, like, every time I've watched that movie, when the storm comes in, I go, oh, it feels a lot cooler. And I don't know why that is.
That's very true.
And I feel like that's what they were trying to do, but it doesn't change the fact that the tension feels like it should still be rising.
If they were in New York,
the argument,
and it just started raining like that, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's fair.
It actually, at times,
the humidity just
like, you really hope it cools down. In Colorado, it'll cool you down as soon as it starts raining.
Yeah,
but not in these humid states.
Yeah. Oof. Well, either way, I guess I associate like those big rains with like the rain itself is cold.
Absolutely.
So that's probably.
I feel like that's probably what they do go and do. We do have one more. We have to do favorite juror.
Favorite juror. Okay. For me, it is number 4.
It is number 4, yeah. Mr. Faxy Boy.
Yes.
He's a fax machine.
That was a bad joke. I disagree with that joke. Please tell me your favorite juror.
Okay, cool. I had to hear why in a second, but okay. Oh no, my favorite juror. So I feel like my favorite juror is the other slum guy.
Okay.
Juror 5.
Yeah.
I think it's 5. So the other guy grew up in the slums.
He's 5.
Yeah, he's 5. And the guy next to him is 6.
Yeah.
I think it was 5 because
he's 5.
I liked his conviction and his general willingness to try and bring up things.
Yeah.
I also really liked 2 though because he was cute and he had good character development.
I can't watch that without just seeing Radar from MASH. You've never seen MASH? It's a great show.
Is that the one that has Mr. T in it?
No.
Oh.
That's the A-Team, and it's not as good. MASH is a darkly comedic TV show about a medical station in the Korean War.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but one of the characters is Radar, and he's just the most charming character in the entire show. I'll have to show you a few episodes at some point. But no, the reason 4 is my favorite is because he is not willing to jump ship until he has made sure that every piece of evidence is spoken to.
Absolutely.
And you don't get the sense that it's because he wants the guy to be guilty or anything like that. He wants to be sure about whatever decision he comes to.
Exactly. If he feels that that's his obligation to this case.
Right. Yeah. And I so respect that. And I think that is why he is my favorite character by a pretty wide margin.
Nice.
Yeah, I would say by a wide margin. Awesome. I do also like juror number 5, but juror number 4, I'm like, even the ones that like even certain jurors that get that I feel like have more prejudices against the kid still will jump before he does. And I feel like their opinions are there out of malice in the first place, whereas his is not.
Exactly.
But like, I think it's really telling that he's one of the last 3 jurors to switch his opinion.
And him switching is not climactic. Like, it's not like passionate. It's like, no.
Right. Yeah.
Addressed.
Yeah. And I don't know. I guess that is the kind of juror that I would want to be on a trial if I were in court, because I would want someone who is actually trying to address all of the evidence and making sure that they make the right call rather than just making a call because it feels kind of right.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to bring up, that it's going back to one of the arguments that I feel we forget by the end is this is a kid with a violent record.
True. That's a good point.
Begin with.
Stealing a car isn't that violent.
Stealing a car isn't that violent necessarily. He has an assault record.
And he was like 9, wasn't he?
No. So 10 when he threw the rock at the teacher, and then 15 when he boosted the car or something like that. But then they talk about like other crimes that he's been picked up for, and one of them is assault. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. The stats do speak to violent criminals being
escalating.
Yeah.
They escalate.
Yeah.
So murder could be next.
Yeah.
Pretty straight shot.
But yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean that he's guilty. That's not the point.
Good point, though.
Yeah.
Very good point.
But it is something that we definitely forget by the end of the movie.
Absolutely.
So, unless there is anything else you want to talk about here,
what's next week's movie?
Next week's movie is... It's supposed to be Return of the King.
Yes.
Oh, no. Schindler's List.
Schindler's List.
Schindler's List. Have you seen Schindler's List?
No, I have not.
Oh, boy. All right. I have seen Schindler's List, and it's what we'll be watching next week.
Oh, good.
It is a heavy movie.
Nice.
So, yep.
Great. Awesome. How long is this one?
This one is going to be one of our longest. It's 3.5 hours. Or I guess 3 hours and 15 minutes. Still
shorter than Godfather Part 2.
Shorter than Godfather Part 2. Shorter than the Lord of the Rings movies, which we have coming up after that. So
I do love them. That's going to be just painful.
All right. So how do we end this?